Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and one of the things I want to warn you guys about, because it's something we see a lot in this community, we even see some YouTubers do this, of understanding that knee sleeves, knee wraps, elbow sleeves, elbow wraps, things like that are there purely to help you lift more weight, particularly in a competitive environment. They should never ever be used to reduce pain or to try to prevent injuries, because they've been shown, particularly knee wraps, have been shown to actually increase injury rates in knees over time. But a lot of people do these because they're like, well, my elbows hurt, my knees hurt, things in my body hurt, and they try to use band-aid fixes like that rather than fix the actual problem. But the truth is, if things like your elbows are hurting or your knees are hurting, there's something very wrong with your training. You need to make some major changes to your training. And so what you're doing, if you're taking something that puts pressure on it, that seems to relieve the pain that you feel, or sometimes even reduce the pain you get after you train, it seems like it blunts that pain effect. What you need to understand is that you're just putting pressure on it as a band-aid fix. It is not actually helping you in any way. And so what you're doing is that you're continuing to do the activity that is injuring you, causing inflammation, causing damage to the joint, or particularly inflammation of the connective tissue, and that's putting other types of stress on that joint as well. And so what's going to happen over time, if you're doing that instead of fixing the problem using that Band-Aid fix, and then it also lets you lift a little more weight, whether you guys want to admit it or not, so then you're lifting more weight using a method that's actually injuring you, it is no longer a matter of if it is going to hurt you, but only a matter of when it is going to hurt you. You are eventually going to suffer a serious injury. And all you younger guys, you know that guy over there, you know, maybe your dad, your uncle, your neighbor, that guy you know who's like 40, 45, he's like, yeah, I used to be all big and jacked like you. I used to work out a lot, but my elbows and shoulders are all hurt, and now he just looks like a fat, out of shape guy who doesn't even lift. That's going to be you one day if you guys continue to do that, because you're not going to be able to continue training once you've hurt yourself a few times. You're going to lose your interest in it. That is your future. That sort of behavior is how you become that person. So remember, guys, if things are hurting in your body, don't try to look for Band-Aid fixes. You need to figure out what's causing the problem and fix it. Now, the one thing I will say is different on chest presses alone. Wrist wraps are different, because with a wrist wrap, you're not wrapping up a joint that is supposed to bend. You're wrapping a joint to keep it more stable, because you're using a heavier weight than you would normally use. So you notice you don't see guys on overhead press using wrist wraps as much. And the reason is because the wrist needs to have more mobility on the overhead press. And so you wouldn't want to try to lock it into place. And also on chest presses in general, you're going to use a lot more weight than you would normally use in any other position on the body. And so therefore it tends to put stresses on the wrist. People tend to be strong enough with their chest pressing to eventually get so strong that their wrist can't really handle it. When you go to your overhead pressing, you obviously won't use them. But the thing is, you are trying to actually make a joint immobile and raise hydrostatic pressure, which is different than wrapping or putting a sleeve on a joint that is actually bending, and you're actually bending the wrap and everything. So don't confuse those. We're dealing with apples to oranges when you're talking about an actual joint that flexes and moves through 90 degrees during an exercise versus a joint that you're trying to immobilize. But I just thought I would throw that exception to the rule in so that there's no confusion there. But remember, guys, if you have hurting joints or hurting connective tissue, don't try to find Band-Aid fixes for it. Don't use painkillers to fix it. Don't use wraps. Don't use sleeves. Fix your training. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. If you guys enjoyed this video, please remember to click like down below. So I hope it has been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.